Really, we have moved so far away from the rule of law. And that ties into the next topic I want to bring in, which is what's happening with reporting in the Pentagon. It's the lack of verifiable on the scene reporting we're losing at the same time that we're walking away from the rule of law. So Peake has said you can only have access to the Pentagon, a pass to come into the Pentagon, if you agree that you will not write anything that's not approved, which we used to call censorship. And there is a First Amendment, which expressly is against that very thing. So the whole order seems incredibly unconstitutional to me, although who knows what the Supreme Court would say. And in a rare act of unity, almost every single right and left-sided media outlet refused to go along with this, and reporters went out. Even Fox went along with it.
And Newsmax.
Yeah.
And
News. What was it? Oh, what is that? OAN.
OAN. Oh, One
Yeah.
American News.
One American News. So they're the only ones. And so if you watch One American News, you might as well read, a press release from Hegseth's PR department. That's what it will be. And I don't know, I don't feel outraged, even in the journalism community, from this, much less from the public at large. Maybe I'm wrong.
Outraged that they walked out, or
Outraged that Hegseth would pull this. And Trump's reaction was, yeah, we should try that at the White House.
Well, they did. They excluded the AP, and I would have said that even this Supreme Court wouldn't tolerate what amounts to pre-publication censorship.
Correct.
Basically,
correct.
But they're gonna say two things. One is you had a choice to do it. They gave you the choice. You didn't have to do it, and so you lost access. But we've said before you can lose access. So
they were the courts have been, and it didn't get to the Supreme Court, but in the AP case, they were really kind of loosey-goosey on access. There's nothing that says you can't report on the Pentagon. You just can't get into the Pentagon where all the people who can tell you what's going on are working.
Yeah.
So they're going to
sources and stuff, but then your sources are going to be terrified because it's going to be a force.
That's the real point of this. This is chilling. We don't want you reporting. And if you report, we're going to scrutinize it. We're going to sue you. We're going to go after you. You are in trouble if you report stuff we don't want you to report on.
Kessler said it was funny. He said the same thing I did to my wife privately, that he said what these news organizations should do is, particularly the ones that can afford it, is they should go out and hire 5 more reporters to cover the Pentagon and to cover the military and show them that you don't need to be inside the building to do this.
Well, and I have maintained for years as a journalism professor that I hate the White House press corps. They don't break any big stories. They're there to cover announcements and to listen to Carolyn lie to us with her cross on. They don't get big stories from that. So get out of the White House and start talking to people who are affected by White House policies. You might end up with better stories. I don't know if the same is true for the military, because policy is made there and they do stay there. I'm not sure you can cover the military quite as effectively without access to the Pentagon. I don't know. I never covered military, but that's my impression. I would want to be able to go into the Pentagon.
It's not like a military base, though. In the sense that everybody lives there, everybody's on base all the time. People actually on bases nowadays are on off base housing. It's kind of I think the Reagan era way of getting money into the communities.
Yeah.
So I think if people who worked their sources, unfortunately, what's going to happen is their sources are going to dry up as they get thrown out of the military. Anybody that takes a stand in this day and age against the policies that are out there is going to lose their commission. So
we're already seeing that. I'm really disturbed by Admiral Halsey, who he just got his 4th star last year. So this is a guy who has risen very high, and sky's the limit after that, right? And he quit 1 year into a 3-year command, Southern Command, because of shooting up boats, supposedly of drug cartels, but are they really in the Caribbean? We don't have a real story on that. We don't know what's happening. And I don't know how you get it if you're not hearing from Admiral Halsey himself. Talk to how about going to Venezuela and talking to some of them? How about going out and talking to people in the boats? And there were survivors. Did you read about this in the last bombing? And the government just released them, not to the government for imprisonment, but just released them into country. Just, sorry about that, just go away. So what would they have said that the White House doesn't want repeated?
Yeah.
We're not really getting the full picture anymore. That's your concern as citizens, however you feel about the press.
No, and it's hard to imagine that they have a perfect record of picking out drug
Oh, yeah.
dealers and smugglers and stuff, and it just happened to be on a boat across.
We don't have any evidence. What are they using as their evidence? We don't even know that. Yeah, nothing. But the one thing, pardon me?
Bottom of the sea.
It's the bottom of the sea, exactly. The one thing to remember, though, about trying to suppress the media in this way, stopping leaks, is that there's an indirect balance. When you suppress that way, you see a rise in whistleblowers and anonymous tips. And I think that Pete Hegseth has done enough bad things and continues to do them. He's terrible. He's completely unqualified. And I think that's and he's annoying all the most experienced people. Come on, we haven't talked about that, did we? That whole little
That meeting.
forced meeting where everybody came and got told, don't be fat and shave off your beards.
So many stone faces in your life. They were all like,
I think they thought it was going to be like a rally the troops sort of thing. I mean, when the president shows up for, foreign, showing up at a base somewhere or something, they get plenty of cheering soldiers. The generals aren't going to do that. I think they really do. I was encouraged by it. It suggests they're taking it seriously.
Well, I was encouraged by the admirals giving up a plum job. And I hope that I understand. I just read a report that an increasing number of ICE and border agents are leaving because they can't condone what's going on. I think we have to see a lot of that. You can't just say I'm following orders. If the orders are this awful, you need to give up that job. And hell, they're working for the federal government. They could get fired tomorrow or laid off anyway.
I think the generals realize that this is what the military, what they're doing with the military is kind of a microcosm of what they're doing with everything else. They're taking these, the kind of conversations you'd have in a bar. It's what I always come back to is, this is barstool wisdom running this country. And I think that, this may appeal to a lot of troops out there that have always felt, you grouse about the boss because you're not winning a war at any given moment, or you need something to grumble about. And you're taking people who actually have decades of experience.
Right.
And you're basically saying what you'd say doesn't matter. What pleases the troops is what I really care about. And that's how we're going to run the military from now on. That's a scary thing. That's going to weaken the country severely.
Okay, so Trump is increasingly using the military in cities against citizens. And I think he's trying to normalize that, to make that, and he's talking about now going into San Francisco is the latest one. And the courts are holding him back so far, but who knows what the Supreme Court will decide on that. And so will the military go along with that? What happens if we have a protest that isn't as peaceful as the one that we had yesterday?
Which still is no excuse for the military to be in the cities. This is not a replacement for law enforcement. The lower courts all seem to be in agreement.
Unanimous, right?
And the problem, and what's made me temporarily happy about it, and I think I brought this up last time we had a conversation about this, is that the judges in the courts are taking a look at the rationale behind it, not just what the Constitution says, but they're also looking at the rationale and say, you can't just make up an emergency. Yeah. You can't just make up a crisis. And this is a made up crisis. The Supreme Court, when this gets to the Supreme Court, I'm afraid that logic, that sobriety is going to go out the window. And they're going to say, we are not here, the courts are not here to second guess the president when it comes to policy.
Right.
And that is opening up the door to that's taking the lid off this president.
Trump said that I heard that announcement, he said that about San Francisco. He said he could always use the insurrection clause. Is it a clause?
Right.
I'm not gonna. do it.
Insurrection
Well,
Act.
I don't wanna do it. I can, it's a fallback position.
In 2 weeks.
Insurrection. So what we did yesterday was insurrection, people. I think so.
Well, Indivisible is on his list of terrorist organizations now.
Quiz. Oh.
Yeah, so I'm a terrorist.
Parents tell me that Pledge of Allegiance is buried in my hometown.
Oh,
And when people talk about the pledge, I always write, I pledge allegiance to my flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I always put, that's the original.
Yep.
You
Right.
put a mustache on Mona Lisa.
right. That's true.
Is-
That's true.
Is there a reason why, like all of these congressional people who have the authority to go in and look at these ICE detention camps and stuff and are being prohibited from doing that? Is there a reason why a governor would not say or send in like the National Guard in the state to escort them through the ICE people? I mean, outnumber the ICE people and say, these people have a legal right to come in, because I think if the nation knew what was happening there, that would turn the tide.
Yeah, you're right. That's another area that we don't know what's happening in those centers because we're being kept out. Yeah, it's definitely not good. I think the federals just trump, again, using that word in the wrong way as a verb. The federal agency surpasses the state. They have the right to do what they want on federal land. That's why he can send in troops to protect federal facilities, which is what he's doing.
And this raised a conversation I had with someone the other day who asked, well, if the Texas National Guard is coming into Oregon, can't the
Right.
Oregon governor have the Oregon National Guard defend Oregon? And I said, that's a wonderful idea if you want to have a civil war.
Yeah, we'll have National Guards fighting each other. Oh my
Yeah, you
gosh.
just, I think the governors are to use the word again, sober enough to say this is not how we're going to solve this problem.
That
And have to-
argument way back,
Did he?
showing him that he would use his National Guard to keep the federal land.
Keep the federal out. Wow.
That he would or wouldn't.
I thought he was making the argument that he would, and Trump backed off way back, and then now he is in Chicago, but I thought that was one of the core things.
This is changing every day too, so it's really hard to keep up with it. But I am continue to be amazed and angry that Trump has these lawyers who use the law in innovative, creative ways to advance his agenda. Why don't we have that on the left?
How much can we, well.
I want a Thurgood Marshall.
Trying to figure out how to push the Constitution,
Yeah.
push the limits of
Yeah,
it.
push the limits.
Opposed to working within it.
Way back in Reagan era.
Yeah, I want a Thurgood Marshall or a Ruth Bader Ginsburg who use the law in the same way these right-leaning, horrible lawyers are using it to push the conservative agenda. I mean, who came up with a vigilante law in Texas to stop abortion? Okay, if we see you doing it, if you drive a woman in a taxi to an abortion clinic, you're liable too. I mean, and the courts have upheld that. It's being used over and over again. Same thing with John Eastman, who came up with this grand plan to thwart the 2020 election. And all the lawyers, all the the established lawyers, oh, that's crazy. That's never been done before. That'll not fly. And it is flying. And it's constantly flying. And Trump has a lot of these lawyers working for him.
Yep.
The Heritage Foundation.
Plenty of lawyers on the left who are doing that work. Brennan Center, ACLU.
Okay, what did they say? That we are not getting through to the Supreme Court. That
That's the
everything,
thing.
yeah.
That's the thing, is that
Takes such a long time too.
Yeah.
And in real time, Trump bullshit is happening so fast. And
That is the genius of Project 2025. So they took 4 years to plumb it all out.
Mhm.
And now they're just one step after another.
well, they laid the groundwork in the first term.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the
Oh, yeah.
justices they needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
bodies in place to
Mhm.
fill those vacant positions that he
Aside from messaging, which Republicans have all over the Democrats, they have this long-term vision. And they worked for 10 years getting support in state legislatures and at lower levels, and then went after abortion. And it worked. They brought down a 50-year president. I don't see Democrats working that way. We have terrible leadership in the Democratic Party. Can we
It's-
talk about that for a minute?
I-
I'm so disappointed in Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah. There are some people in there who are articulate, who, you listen to them on TV and they sound great, but they're powerless.
Yeah.
So how great can you be in a situation like this?
I
when
don't know. Mitch
everything-
McConnell was pretty powerless and he never seemed powerless. He used
Mm,
tactics, he used messaging, he used pressure in a way that Schumer does not even touch, does not touch it. And Hakeem Jeffries is very articulate. I think he's a great orator, but he is no Nancy Pelosi.
mm.
See,
There
the
was-
older women,
Or was it?
that's true. That's true. She was unique.
So you think of magical leadership
I would,
or good leadership would get us.
America has always been blessed, and I don't believe in God, but has been blessed with the right leader at the right time. Abraham Lincoln, where the heck did he come from? And he's the leader of the United States during
Roosevelt, I guess. was-
Roosevelt. That's another good. Washington. Here's a man with supreme power. He could have been a king. He could have had the power that Trump is trying to amass. And he goes, no, 2 terms is it. I'm going back to Virginia, and you all should do the same. And beware. And Eisenhower, a Republican, I think he was a great and overlooked president. And he warned about the military, congressional, industrial complex.
Mhm.
That was brilliant. That we always seem to have the right leader at the right time. I'm not seeing it now so much.
I would say there have been times when we've had the wrong leader too. I mean,
Yeah.
Harding.
Well,
Do you find any comfort or hope in the number of people who have never run for office, who are contemplating running at the different levels within supported by Act Blue and organizations like that? I don't know what their chances are of winning, but the fact that they are stepping into the ring.
well, apparently Republicans are worried about that because they're going after Act Blue, which
Mhm.
raises money for a lot of Democratic candidates. I'm encouraged by more women running, by more people of color running. But of course, I believe in DEI, which Trump also wants to kill. I don't see that as, I want a fast solution. And again, that's the Democratic problem. These things don't happen quickly. And we're in trouble now. We're going to be in trouble for a while. Will it straighten out in the long arch of history? Probably, but are we going to be alive to see it? I don't think the Supreme Court's going to be fixed in my lifetime.
The broad blueprint that says, for example.
Right.
If we were to come into power,
Where's our Project 2025? We talked about that. We need to do that.
Healthcare for everyone, fixing the healthcare system, daycare, free daycare, parental leave, there's a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Social.
Well, it is. We did have with were any of you at the salon where we talked about, okay, what would be our Project 2029? We brought up a lot of things. I mean, things that are in the Constitution that need to be strengthened. The emoluments clause didn't stop Trump. The Second Amendment needs to be written in a way that it's clear what is meant. What is the militia part of that is totally dropped out. It's become individual. We're seeing Trump now trying to get rid of the birthright citizenship, which is, these are parts of the Constitution need to be explained better and spelled out. Pardon, presidential pardon, that certainly needs some clarification.
Well, Citizens United.
Yeah, Citizens United, yeah, that's the Supreme Court, yeah. That won't happen in our lifetime. That is just not gonna happen. I think the Supreme Court is lost for
Unless,
a
well.
bomb in the middle of the court, and I'm not
You
advocating
would
that.
need both.
I'm not advocating that, let me be clear.
You would need both. You would need the Senate and the House and a Democratic president.
Yeah.
You'd need a trifecta.
You'd need a trifecta, right, which Trump has. Yeah, he is the luckiest man in the world. Might be the luckiest man in history. Born rich, never suffered, has a view of many, a big, beautiful family, most powerful man in the world. I think Trump has never paid for any of the wrongdoing he's done.
Headed to the bar.
Yeah, she needs a drink for that one. All right, so let's switch the topic because we have a lot. Young Republicans with racist, anti-Semitic, horrible views that they're willing to express. What do we think of this?
I A, I was not surprised, and B, I was not surprised at the dancing that's being done. I mean, I wouldn't even say that JD Vance is dancing anymore. He's
Oh, no,
if he
defending.
could say, they should all be back in business, and the New York Republican Party was wrong to decertify the Young Republicans altogether, and the criticism's got to stop. And these are just children, for God's sakes. They're 40-year-old children, 30-year-old children.
They are.
We can't hold them responsible.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought a wonderful comment I heard yesterday was somehow a 20-something-year-old demonstrator in Portland it needs the full weight of the federal government, brought down on them for protesting, but somehow a 35-year-old
Young Republican.
is not really responsible for their actions and shouldn't be held,
Should be held to account. Yeah.
Unbelievable that the vice president of the United States is trying to soft pedal what even as much as they want to do a whataboutism, they're at least saying, New York politicians are saying, for the most part, this was wrong, and there should be, the consequence should be they should be out of our politics.
Which brings me to my question about this scandal: is why is JD Vance defending them? Why doesn't he do what you say? This is deplorable. This does not represent the principles of the Republican Party. We regret this. Why don't they do that? Why are they saying we want to keep these people involved and
Yep.
Right. Well, isn't this is what our society has created in the dark. And what this administration is, it's almost like this kind of bias has been bubbling in the dark by people who run this society. And I'm not going to apologize. I'll just be biased myself by white Christian men. And now this administration, it's like bubbled up to the top, and they want to show that it's all okay. Like everything that you've always done amongst yourselves. I did whatever to that girl when she was passed out, or that guy is Jewish, so I'm going to make some kind of crack about him, or that guy's black, so we're not going to let him in the frat. All those things they said in the dark are coming out, and they're making it okay. So I'm not surprised, like you, and I actually think a lot of this has been happening in a certain segment that we're not as privy to hearing about. And that is super scary to me, to be clear. I'm not trying to sound matter of fact.
Yeah.
I
think they're trying to make it all okay for everyone.
Well,
who's done that.
For years, this has been the subtext of the reaction against political correctness. Why can't I say these things? Why can't I use a word? Why can't I use the N-word if people of color can use the N-word? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do? I mean, it's childish and it's weird, but I think that's always been the subtext of the sneering at political correctness, and that we've kind of gone over completely in the other direction now, where someone like JD Vance knows that the base that he's appealing to, and I wouldn't say it's the 40% base, it's probably the 28% base, really would like to be able to, they don't mind this language at all. And there's no shame.
Right.
That's the thing is, fine, I know people talk like this. I know that, and sometimes in comedy shows you hear, kind of you're approaching this kind of edginess. But there was a societal agreement that some things were you just don't do this in public. You don't talk like this in public. And if you get caught talking like this, you unequivocally apologize for it, and you kind of go away in shame sometimes if you've gone too far. That's gone. That's gone as far as the vice president is concerned. And I think, with Trump, grab him by the, all that. Good people fine people on both sides. All of this has been this coarsening of our national dialogue.
I don't know. Am I the only one in here who was shocked by it? I was surprised. These are not dumb people. They have a level of success. They have some, leadership ability, or they wouldn't be involved in this group. And they're writing things like rape is epic.
Yeah.
Where are their mothers?
You know, our Republican governor, who I'm not an enormous fan of, but he did call out the state senator who was part of this chat. And I don't know if any of you have seen it, but he is going to be resigning tomorrow.
Right.
Good.
That's happened. So
Well, maybe
so
we
that
should
makes me like surprised that JD Vance, if our governor can do it, why can't JD?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, J.D. Vance is quite the opportunist. I think of, again, the most interesting person in politics today to me is J.D. Vance's wife. She's a mother. Does she want people running around like that? Her husband defending people saying rape is epic. He has daughters. She's smarter than he is. Yeah. And she's an immigrant. Yeah. What is she getting out of this? I am totally fascinated with her.
I think that
Clarence Thomas and his wife get out of.
Oh, well, they get a lot. Come on. They make tons of money, tons of influence, great vacations. Clarence and Ginny are doing okay. Yeah.
I think we all need to listen to, I was fifth grade, 1974, Marlo Thomas and Friends, Free to Be You and Me, a record that had a host of different stars, and there's a land that I see and the children are free, and all this great music. And I remember my first year of teaching, I saw it in the catalog. That was the very first thing I bought as a teacher was the disc, because it talks about loving each other. It's all right to cry, crying gets the sad out of you. All these good things. And I think they need to listen to that again.
Who is they? Who needs to listen?
Anti-loving each other people.
Yeah, DEI is like the worst thing that we've ever propagated in the country. Where did that idea come from? I actually get political correctness going too far. I hate saying visually impaired instead of blind. I don't think enslaved person is any better a condition than slave. I get the political correctness stuff, but this is different than that. Rape is not epic. It's awful. It's a crime, and you should go to jail for a long time for it.
And I think that is kind of what Vance is taking advantage of, that there is this middle of America that thinks would agree with you on both the right and the left. And then, but he's got a base that, it wants to go even further than that. They don't,
Wow.
and they want to be able to say the things that were well, maybe not that, God. There were things said on this thing. I
Yeah.
don't know where it came from. Kind of mentally.
How did this story come out? Politico had it, right?
Politico.
They found the emails. See, leaks.
Yeah, they didn't
The leaks.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Who?
As an
who would-
investigative reporter, I think this is going to be a very lucrative, interesting time to be a journalist. I think people are going to come out.
Saying, I mean, even if they're saying it and believing it, the political correctness is like landmines. Like you just you say something. I didn't know that one yet. I hadn't heard that. I didn't know I couldn't say that yet. As opposed to grenades that are very deliberate.
Right. That's a good point.
Grenades, they're not stepping on landmines.
Good point. Nice finish. Nice analogy.
But for them, it's normal. And that's my thing.
Normal
It's
or
not
not,
a grenade.
No, it's a
like,
weapon.
maybe we believe the 1 in 3 women who say they were raped. Because if men can be talking about it, like in a text like this so casually, like to them, it's not a big deal, that it's an understanding.
No, because they probably raped someone.
Right,
They
exactly.
didn't-
So it's that, I know this all sounds harsh, and I'm probably projecting whatever, you know, because I don't know what they were thinking, obviously. But like for them to talk about it so comfortably
Yeah.
is alarming. And it makes me think about everything that they did to make that feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just locker room talk.
Yeah, right.
I guess that's out of favor now too, but the tone is set at the highest level.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you go back to when Donald Trump went in front of a bunch of Boy Scouts and
Oh.
said that, do you remember that?
I do.
It was just, you know what's
Jubilee.
going on. You know what I'm talking about. No, they don't. They're 12 years old, for God's sake. Well, I don't know. Maybe I was a little naive. Well,
As a mother of sons. I hope they don't.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we have now exhausted
Oh.
our extensive list of what we needed to discuss today. So we have a choice. We either end early or you bring up another topic that you want to talk about that we have not envisioned.
well, I had one more.
Okay,
I,
Anita Hill?
During the whole Anita issue with report, there was a Time magazine article, same with candy, same with the drink, but never say in ink.
Yeah.
So you have all these young Republican.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't say anything. They wrote it, which should be different. But you know what? It isn't in the younger generation. And I'm speaking as I got fired from a job once for something I wrote. I defended it and I would say it and, you know, I'm all out there. But yeah, I thought about it after getting fired, you know, from a job I love, that you don't write stuff. You can say it. But there, again, it goes back to Ona's point that they were just comfortable. So they wrote it. Anyway.
and it wasn't a one-off.
No.
This wasn't just. a
No,
bunch of
this
guys
was many conversations.
drinking, you know, while they were texting and stuff. This was months and months and months of these.
Yeah.
Trying to shock each other, like, who could say the worst thing, you know?
It almost seems like a, yeah, hubris that comes from power. And that's, all right. You said you had one more topic.
Yeah,
We have time for one more.
I went back through my emails to see if I had a lot, because the Young Republicans put out a lot of press releases
Yeah.
over the last year or so. And unfortunately, I deleted them all because basically they were all cheerleading Donald Trump, and I just don't need my space, my data space taken up with that. So I only had 3 emails from them. And they weren't particularly revelatory, but it was the guy who was the head of it, just, you know, in some sort of high dudgeon about something. I was disturbed this morning, but I thought it really crystallized. We were talking about JD Vance, what JD Vance said to the Marines yesterday after they, either before or after they shot missiles over a freeway.
What the heck was that about?
I think it was just more
Show
of
of
the,
power.
we're doing it because we can.
Boys and toys.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. And he made the comment
Aren't you
that
ashamed to be a man?
some days.
Yeah, I mean, you have a conscience too, so, yeah.
One of the funniest lines on Cheers was when Cliff Clavin said, I'm ashamed God made me a man. And Carla said, yeah, I don't think God's bragging about it either. It was a best line.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, JD Vance. So he was talking to the Marines and he said that our strength, our diversity is not our strength. Our common purpose is our
Yeah.
strength. And I thought it crystallized everything that's wrong with this man. But everything that is wrong with the MAGA movement. It's a false dichotomy. We could argue that our diversity is our strength, and we could argue that our common purpose is also our strength. And why he makes it
Either or.
it's a clever thing to do.
Yeah, it is,
It's an
actually.
insidiously clever thing to do.
Diversity amongst our.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a lot to say about it, but I think that if you take that concept day after day after day, you'll see that it plays out a lot in this administration, that everything is, a lot of things that it does are false choices. So
Right.
we have to resume the shutdown, and then we'll talk about healthcare.
Why? Do both.
You know,
Yes.
why not? Well, we can't have countries taking advantage of us, so we have to have tariffs. Well, yeah, you know, maybe we do need some tariffs to level the playing field in some areas, but in some cases. But this again is a false choice.
Oh, that's really smart. That
Yeah.
is a good analysis.
Anyway,
And it is part of their
Doesn't
plan,
make
the way
that
they
enough.
talk to us. No, it doesn't make, yeah, there's, how do Democrats combat that? I guess by pointing out that
false
do
choice.
both. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
false.
Yeah,
false
and I
choice.
think that could be a potentially inspiring thing for a Democrat to.
It is.
talk
That's a
about.
really
All
interesting
about.
message. Yeah.
But we have Gavin Newsom, picking on Trump, but we have Donald having his AI generated videos
Yeah.
that he creates. I mean, the one yesterday where planes are going over New York City and dropping sewage.
Yeah.
That's our president.
Yeah.
Thank you for that message.
Don't you find, aren't there politicians who are really good at articulating that? Like I think of, I'm having a senior moment way too early in life, and I'm forgetting the name of a well-spoken politician in that.
What state? Or
What's her name? She's,
Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar,
she,
Elizabeth.
there have been several who have articulated the false dichotomy and what is wrong. And somehow they aren't listening, and that goes to what you said, Rosemary, about what are we doing wrong? Like, why can't we get these voices across?
Well, it's I go back to leadership. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think AOC is remarkable.
Oh, yes.
And she is articulate and she has charisma, which are the two things you need to be a politician of the Obama or Trump ilk. Say what you will, they're completely different, but both of them have those two things. They're articulate, they have a message they can deliver well, and they have a charisma that's hard to explain but undeniable. She has that, which is why she's totally under attack by Republicans. I think David Hogg might have it. He's the young boy who was at the Parkland shooting down in Florida, and he's turned into an advocate for gun regulation. And he was put on the Democratic committee. I said, oh, this is great. This is just what they need. The first thing he says is, let's get rid of the Deadwood Democrats who don't do anything and put new people in. And he's like, yes, of course. And he is like, he's pushed out. He's now off of the Democratic committee. And then AOC was not allowed, and Nancy Pelosi did this, kept her off of a chairmanship of the Oversight Committee. Nancy Pelosi is the leading Democrat on the Oversight Committee. Oh my God. We would see something. Democrats stopped it. They had done it to themselves. It's leadership.
You mean AOC?
AOC, sorry. AOC has done it. Anyway,
And I think that's why we're seeing such attacks on Mandami, because,
right.
well, first of all, he's Muslim, so,
Oh, yeah. So he's
the
fair
attack
game.
right
Yeah.
there as far as the
Yeah.
right's concerned, but it's also, he is articulate. My God, every
Yeah.
time I hear him speak, I'm like,
And he has charisma.
what are you attacking this guy about?
Did any of you watch any of the debate, the mayoral debate? I mean, he just was walking all over those other two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So between him and AOC, holy cow, can you
Oh, my-
imagine?
Yeah.
That,
That was the Democratic Party,
I don't get it. I mean, Schumer has the smarts, Jeffries has the speechifying, and they just don't have their act together. I'm glad they've held it together so far to stand up to this shut off business.
I hope they stay with it.
I think Democrats should be on the phone every day to Congress people saying, stick with it.
I think everyone should start sending their medical bills to the Republicans. I mean, I can't afford this, you pay for it.
Yeah.
I
Well-
want to send him the tariff bill I'm about to get for importing something from China.
Oh, is this your arrows?
No, oh God.
Tell us the arrow story. Bring us up to date on that.
There's nothing to update. They are still being made by, I found out a little bit about how this company in Ukraine works. They farm out most of their work to craftspeople who do this kind of stuff. And it is painstaking work to try to just put an arrow together, a Kyoto arrow in particular, because the measurements on it are not standard. So you need to do the stuff by hand as opposed to being able to use what's called a jig that just presses all the arrows in place. I have a jig that almost fits there's 6-inch arrows and 6-inch feathers. And the jigs just aren't made that long. And to keep a feather perfectly straight, you need either a very fine hand or a tool to make it stay straight while the glue is hardening. So who these people are, I don't know, but I Googled one of them. And the woman who I've been dealing with, she goes to like Renaissance fairs, and I've got pictures of her in full medieval regalia and armor and all this stuff. And she does shoot bows and shoot bow and arrow.
Did they come?
They have not come yet. I'm still waiting.
A Lotus or something from the Ukraine? It's a real interesting story on A Way to Garden, which is Margaret, whatever her name is, from the New York Times.
Yes,
They have
Roach,
some-
Margaret Roach.
Yeah, right. So this woman, she seems so bright. She's running this farm with these beautiful flowers, and only she could get people to buy it. So I sent $50. I made an order.
Right.
Heard a word back. Not a word. And it was
That's
just-
interesting. That's interesting.
I'm still waiting too, and I've got an order.
So what's the tariff bill you're expecting?
Oh, well, I'll get a tariff bill on that, but the other one's from China. It's some parts for a car that were, a fraction of the cost to buy them from Ford directly. Problem is that
Now they're gonna cost as
they're gonna
much
be
as Ford, yeah?
even twice as expensive.
Oh.
They're not going to be anywhere near what Ford would have charged me. Ford was like $450, and these were $60.
Oh, yeah, that's a
So
lot.
for $120, I could do it, but
Yeah.
it's a strange experience knowing that I am going to be paying this outrageous tax. And there are a lot of Americans who are like, yeah, it's okay, because Trump did it.
You have to suffer a little for things to get better. You got to listen to the president.
I guess so.
Years ago, I went to a conference when I was working at a church in Northampton, and the biggest fall of America was the creation of credit cards. Because you don't have to pay for it now, and I think that's a big issue. People can throw on their credit cards and then they go bankrupt. If I paid cash, a friend of mine in my hometown was in a restaurant. When she told me how much they have to pay the banks just to use the credit card machine,
Wow.
I was astonished. Paying cash, screw the banks. And the credit cards, the whole same thing. Save your money, work, earning.
Ah, that's an interesting, the credit card, yeah.
There used to be a law that they couldn't charge you more if you used your credit card, that a vendor, that a retail merchant couldn't, or any merchant couldn't charge you more if you used a credit card. And that law went
That's
away.
gone. Yeah, that's gone.
So we have on date night, we have a place we always go to, and if I pay in cash, I pay one price. If I use a credit card, I have to pay an extra 5%. Which is, my wife was a businesswoman, she went through the same thing. And Discover was the worst, and they had the best rewards. Surprise, it kind of works that way. Somewhere, somebody's got to pay for your reward.
Overindulgence, yes.
And it's you. Ultimately, it's you paying for the rewards.
All right, well, we didn't really fall short at all. You filled up all the time. You've been, yes, and I hope you will too. We'll be back next month. Thank you, guys.